I never thought I'd see his face again. 3 years had passed since that night, the night I packed my things, left the key on the counter, and swore I'd never look back. But life has a cruel sense of humor. When I walked into the new office on my first day, there he was, Daniel. My ex. The man who once made me believe in forever and then tore it apart in a single lie. He looked different, older, maybe more tired. But those same blue eyes met mine, and for a split second, I couldn't breathe. My body froze. Memories came crashing in, the late-night drives, the promises, the betrayal. Emily, he said, his voice cautious, as if testing a name that no longer belonged to him. I forced a smile. Daniel. Wow. Small world, huh? Yeah, small, he replied, clearly as uncomfortable as I was. My manager interrupted the silence, introducing us as if we were strangers. Daniel will help you get settled in. He's one of our best analysts. Perfect. Of course he was. The universe clearly wanted to see me suffer. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I tried to focus, but every time he walked by, I felt that familiar ache, the one I thought I'd buried long ago. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't stop replaying everything. The way he'd looked at me. The hesitation in his voice. Maybe he regretted it. Maybe I did too. But I'd promised myself, no second chances. Not with him. And yet, why did my heart still race when he said my name? The next few weeks felt like walking on glass. Every meeting, every coffee break, he was there. Polite. Professional. Acting like nothing had ever happened between us. But there were moments, tiny cracks in his mask that gave him away. The way his eyes lingered a little too long when I laughed. The way his hand trembled when he handed me a file. One afternoon, after a long meeting, I stayed late at the office. Everyone had gone home except Daniel. I tried to ignore him as I typed, but he finally broke the silence. Do you still hate me? He asked softly. I froze. That's a weird question to ask your coworker. He sighed. Emily, I know I don't deserve to talk to you. But please, let me say what I couldn't before. I wanted to leave. I wanted to stay. My chest felt tight as he continued. I didn't cheat on you, he said suddenly. I know what you think, but it wasn't what it looked like. I tried to explain that night, but you didn't want to hear it. My jaw tightened. You were with her, Daniel. At our apartment. What else was I supposed to think? She came to tell me she was moving away. That was all. I swear on everything I have. The silence stretched painfully between us. My brain told me not to believe him, not again. But my heart, my stupid, fragile heart wanted to. Even if that's true, I whispered, you still let me walk away. He looked down. Because I thought that's what you wanted. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The sound of rain against the windows filled the room. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I didn't hate him anymore. I was just afraid that if I let him close again, I'd lose myself all over. The next few days were torture. Every time I saw Daniel, my emotions tangled into knots I couldn't untie. Part of me wanted to scream at him, to make him feel the pain I went through. Another part wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, he was telling the truth. One Friday night, our boss organized a small team dinner. I almost didn't go, but I knew skipping it would look suspicious. When I arrived, Daniel was already there, sitting across the table. His eyes met mine for a split second before darting away. Throughout the dinner, I tried to act normal, laughing at jokes, nodding through small talk. But then, after everyone had left, I realized Daniel was still there, waiting. Can we talk? He asked quietly. About what? I said, though my voice trembled. About us. About everything. I sighed, ready to tell him I didn't want to dig up old wounds. But then he pulled something from his pocket, a small, worn photograph of the two of us from 3 years ago. We were smiling, carefree, standing in front of the lake where we first said I love you. I've kept this, he said. Every day, even when you hated me. His voice cracked just a little, and for the first time, I saw the same pain in his eyes that I had carried for years. Daniel, I whispered, unsure of what to say. He stepped closer, hesitant but sincere. I never stopped loving you, Emily. I just thought I lost the right to say it. My chest tightened, tears threatening to spill. You did lose that right, I said softly. But that doesn't mean my heart listened. He smiled sadly, and for the first time, there wasn't anger between us, just the heavy weight of everything left unsaid. As I walked home that night, my mind replayed every memory, every mistake, every touch we'd shared. And deep down, I knew something was changing. The walls I'd built to protect myself were starting to crack. But part of me still wondered, was I walking back into love, or back into heartbreak? The following week felt like walking on thin ice. Daniel started finding quiet ways to be near me, offering coffee, helping with reports, or just sharing small smiles when no one was watching. I told myself I didn't care. But I did. More than I wanted to admit. One evening, as I was leaving the office, it started to rain, the kind of soft, cold drizzle that soaks through your clothes before you realize it. I ran toward the bus stop, but before I could get there, I heard his voice behind me. Emily. Wait. I turned, and there he was, no umbrella, completely drenched, but smiling like it didn't matter. Let me give you a ride home, he said, brushing the water from his hair. I hesitated. Daniel, you don't have to. I want to, he interrupted gently. The drive was silent at first. The rain pattered against the windshield, and the city lights blurred into streaks of gold and blue. Then, out of nowhere, he said, I think about that night every single day. I swallowed hard. The night you disappeared? He nodded. My father had a heart attack. I drove all night to get to the hospital. When I came back, you were gone. You didn't answer my calls, and I thought you moved on. The words hit me like a wave. All these years, I thought he'd chosen to walk away, that I wasn't enough. I didn't know, I whispered, staring at my hands. I know, he said softly. And I hated myself for not telling you. But I didn't want to come back into your life just to hurt you again. The car stopped in front of my apartment. For a moment, neither of us moved. The rain was still falling, but everything inside the car felt still, quiet, fragile. He looked at me with those same eyes that once made me fall in love. Emily. I don't expect forgiveness. I just need you to know the truth. I opened the door, my heart pounding. You can't erase the past, Daniel. But maybe, I paused, meeting his gaze. Maybe the future doesn't have to look like it. And before he could say another word, I stepped out into the rain, letting it wash away the tears I didn't want him to see. The next few days were a blur of emotions I couldn't untangle. I kept replaying his words, the look in his eyes, the rain, the quiet regret in his voice. Part of me wanted to forget everything, to move on. But another part of me, the one that still remembered his laughter, his warmth, couldn't let go. 3 nights later, there was a knock on my door. I hesitated before opening it. Daniel stood there, holding a small box and looking nervous. I'm not here to change your mind, he said quickly. I just wanted to return this. He handed me the box. Inside was a necklace, a simple silver chain with a small heart-shaped pendant. The same one I'd lost years ago, the night before he left. I found it when I was packing to move, he said softly. I thought, maybe it should find its way back to you. For a moment, I couldn't speak. The pendant glimmered faintly under the hallway light, carrying with it 1,000 memories. Why are you doing this? I asked. He smiled sadly. Because closure matters. And because, part of me never stopped loving you, Emily. The words cut deep. Not because they hurt, but because they felt too real. I wanted to tell him I'd stopped feeling the same. But when I looked at him, I realized I hadn't. Instead, I stepped closer. Maybe love doesn't end, I said softly. Maybe it just waits. He looked at me, searching my face for something, forgiveness, hope, anything. And when he saw it, just barely, he exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for years. We didn't kiss. We didn't make promises. We just stood there, two people who had broken and found each other again, not as they were, but as who they'd become. And as he turned to leave, I whispered, maybe someday, Daniel. He smiled, that same, familiar smile, and walked away into the night. For the first time in years, I closed the door with peace in my heart. Maybe it wasn't the ending I'd dreamed of. But it was real. And sometimes, real is enough.